We are playing NGS.
Extraction.
Choice that we have right now.
Very
Pretty
There are
much.
technically like 3 weapon series right now. 2 of them are super rare as fuck.
Yep.
And the other one's like upgradable.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like drops uncommon. Like they're just both rare. Legendios.
That is another issue because of Sega is not. Let's go here really quick in the shop, player shop.
Welcome.
If we go here and go to top seller, as you can see, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, these 12 star weapon and supposedly legendary weapon, they don't count as legendary or 12-star weapon, regardless of the rarity of how many stars it has. What it's doing, it's saying, how I see it when I go to creative space, the more star rarity is your the build parts for the creative space. The more star rarity it is, the more it takes a chunk of data in your creative space. So if the more level 1 star rarity, the more space you have for to make or create whatever you want in your creative space. But the bigger the star rarity it is, the more memory it consumes and the less space you have in your creative space. So that's the same shit in the equipment, your weapons and your, armor. These two from Legendary 1, Star 12, doesn't mean shit. It just means it's just freaking hard to get. That is all. And it doesn't say that it's, you know, rare or, something stronger. The only thing is like uh, Critical Caster has said, you're just getting for more potency or more PP. That's pretty much what it is. It's not, you know, something a wow factor like what they did in Borderlands or in Destiny. In Destiny, rarity is something that is rare or something that is valuable. Exotic is it is an exotic weapon. Legendary is a legendary weapon. Excuse me. Rare is a rare weapon. Uncommon, same shit. So on and so forth. Even in a freaking any other game that knows how to use those things that you can distinguish from uncommon, common, and rarity, and is it valuable or not. In this case, how in the market is placed, it's only valuable because it's only rare. But they made it so rare that a lot of people don't have it as much because they put the prices way overpriced. Because since no one has it, and if you want it in the store, you have to pay up front. And this is how much it's gonna cost you.
In the 12 series.
See you
I
later.
think the 12 series, I don't know if it's really used much anymore since Legend Eos came out. But that's what I'm saying is, like, I feel like there's always just kind of just like, oh, this is the best weapon to use no matter what. There's no, like, oh, I could use this weapon because it's good for this situation or good for this kind of class most of the time. I think when it was just 12 and the Acrocelio, some classes, like just like a couple, had the 12 series be better than the Acrocelio. There was only like a couple. I would rather it be like every class can use either. It's more like, oh, this is best for this kind of gameplay, this is best for that kind of gameplay. Not, oh, this weapon's best for these two classes, this weapon's best for the rest.
However, it is substantially less exciting.
I do agree on that because, let's say, let's go back to my inventory. Oops. Go all storage. Okay. As you can see, the Codec sword. It should be that they should still pop these weapons out. They should pop all these weapons that you are witnessing and seeing. You should have access to those weapons. Those weapons should be valuable and usable according to what region you are in and how strong you are. And let's say, like, what's it called? Throne of Liberty. It should be harder to increase your battle power. Okay? What do I mean by battle power? Well, your level, not battle power. It should be harder to increase, well, slightly harder to increase your power. Because, as you can see, I'm level 100, and my battle power is 4,000, blah, blah, blah. Once you reach in a certain level, let me be frank, let me be clear on that. So, in Alio, once you beat Alio and you're starting to have access to Retemp, your power level should be around 20 to 25. Or 19. But mostly since they updated the story a little bit, you should be at the very least a level 20. If you do things correctly. If you done the side quest, you do a little bit here and there a little farming to increase your level, and then you start from the story again. But although you should be at level 20 at best, 25 would be, a chef's kiss. And then once you reach Retemp, you should be going from 30 to 40. And then you should go back to Alio and do some, off quest experience. So you have to bounce back from Alio and Retemp to reach your other numbers if you complete the story mission here. So you should be reaching 40, and your best point, because you want to reach Kavaris, because Kavaris is going to be at 60. So you have to you need to have access to have a certain grind factor that it slows you down enough for you have to go to Kavar, Alio, and Kavaris at the same time, and not just having this Retemp Al known to increase your wealth and to gain uh, XP, because this is how I grind to gain my wealth and XP for quite some time. However, um, I just been going back and forth and doing certain, quests here, side quest missions, and exploring. That's what a lot of people don't do. A lot of people just shoot out, level grind, go to Kavaris, and complete the story mission, level grind till they burn themselves out. That's the problem with they don't have a check to slow you down on leveling up experience. However, you should be leveling up in time, but slowly process as is giving the developer team enough time once you reach a certain cap, right? Because, like I've said, um, battle power shouldn't mean shit as of now, because I've always been saying and vocal about it that till we reach level 100, then battle power would matter. But at this time, it doesn't really matter, doesn't mean shit. How they should address to a lot of let's see, like limited time quests, urgent quests that we have here, these red things, and whatever rank it is, it shouldn't go by battle power. It should go by your level. Once you reach the level cap, so at the state of the game, how we are right now, we're level cap 100. I don't think we're going to go any further than 100, because it's not heard of in any other games, what I've seen. But there's rare occasion that certain games you go past level 100. It's very few games, and very little too. But like Destiny, once you reach a certain level cap, what matters is your combat power. So light level. Light level is increasing your gear, improving your gear. So weapons, armor, accessories, so on and so forth. So with that being said, then your battle power would matter for you could have access to certain things. So like going back to Destiny, till you, if anyone wants to reach Vault of Glass raid, you had to have battle power requirement and the level. If you don't have the level, you don't have access. Once you reach the level, now you're required to have battle power or light level. In this case, you're increasing your battle power from as you're playing the day one. You shouldn't be able to have access of battle power because people are focusing on one mentality of a certain gear. But that gear is just based on DPS. It's not Sega forgot how to implement gear and how to build your character. It's like Dragon Ball Z. Female Saiyan and male Saiyan, Namek, Frieza race, Boo race, they have all different abilities. Every all those characters has their weaknesses and strength. However, you could use them at your will, regardless of if you pick male or female, or depending on the race. But in this case, they took that aside, and you are creating your character. Doesn't matter on the race and things like that. That is fine. However, it should be implemented depending if you're a female or male character. You have a certain hitbox weakness. And with that being said, it will give a certain player certain advantage and disadvantage. Now, going back to gear, now you're able to gear up in a different way, not just focus on DPS. Now, the focus is how you're going to implement armor in a certain way. What class are you going to use? And what weapon is going to use to benefit you on what character? If to make it easy for Sega, what are you going to use, T1 or T2? Male or female? Simple as that. Because female most of the time is agile and more faster. Male character are more stronger, more tankier. Just to put it out there. But now it's like how critical, or if Chrono is probably agreeing with me or not, is by the weapons. What critical has been saying, all weapons should have value. All weapons and gear should have certain value, that it's not obsolete. That's what Sega did. Once another series pops into play, that weapon is obsolete no more. So where is the other weapons? It's like Borderlands. You have so many weapons, so many choose that you could pick and choose, regardless from what rarity it is. But depending how useful of that weapon. So what I mean by useful, if I go back to, I still have Code Decks series. Some of them, not all of them. But for an example, Code Deck series, it has an ability to an extra shield. So pretty much, like if I go here, where is it? If I can find it. No, I don't have it with me, I think. It would have say something wall or something like that, and you would have 3 shields on the EX augment. Depending on the EX augment that you have 3 shield. But the codec has a permanent shield. Let's say it has 3. So, but it can generate over time. So if you want to be more tanky, codex will be a perfect weapon that you could use in the long run. It would have, not the best DPS, but resistance and tank. Codec will be the best and optimal weapon if you want to be the tankiest that you can be. But they obsolete those series of weapons and other weapons. So like the fire element weapon, the electric weapon, so on and so forth, and the ice weapon, they became obsolete. And they shouldn't been obsolete. That you should be able to have access and still use it. Probably find a better version of it through time. But they don't do that. That's, maybe my pet peeve, but that could have helped um, not just the player market, but also it would help the players have more variety. But they took the more variety of just having one series of weapon.
Because it is just currency. It is just an injection of currency overall, and it's way less exciting than a lot of those accessories that people were kind of hoping they'd see again. A lot of times we saw like previous AC scratch accessories show up in the reward box, and this was a way a lot of people were like, it was a little bit of cope, right? But they were hoping that things that hadn't been brought back or that they hadn't seen in a long time would show up in that reward box, and that was taken away because of optimization, because we wanted better. It's very much a monkey's paw moment, right? Because you could say like, oh, well, like, why would you take it away? Just make another one. Why would you not change the thing that wasn't really used all that much? Like for me, when they made that change, my first thought was like, yo, that's sick, because I didn't give a crap about the reward box. At best, it was like maybe an extra 500k for me because I would sell the stuff from the reward box. So why wouldn't you make that better for everyone involved? And the reality is, it is objectively better for everyone involved because everyone can use those currencies. No one doesn't need that
You're
currency.
talking
No one,
about
like, there's not a single person that doesn't need Meseta. Granted, there are people that have tons of Meseta that have billions, and they still will take free Meseta. There's no one that doesn't need, star gems. There are people that have tons of star gems. You're still going to take more star gems, right? Because then there's going to be a situation where you're going to burn star gems. You're going to wish you had them. That's just how it goes. And of course, silver, bang, scratch tickets. You're going to use those towards getting more stuff anyway, right? So no matter how you look at it, objectively, it's going to be beneficial for everyone. But when we look at it from the perspective of giving us more and giving us more and giving us more, we're losing out on the things that are actually important to make the game interesting. We have essentially optimized everything to the point of boredom.
yes and no.
There's nothing extra involved in it. And that's just when we look at it from the perspective of events, right? Like, we're not even looking at everything.
I don't know. I feel like the reward box thing is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
Because you are still getting star gems that can still use that for cosmetics. So, I mean, I don't see really much of an issue with that. And then they can always put out other kind of shops or scratches, like SG scratches, that do involve the kind of items that they would put in the reward box anyways. So I don't think it really takes anything away. It's kind of just like up to Sega to kind of choose to do that or not.
I wouldn't say the.
I think ultimately, like, you can still get cosmetics with that Meseta that you're earning and the SG. It's just now you actually have a choice of what you're getting instead of it just being some random thing in a box.
Exactly. I wouldn't say more scratch
so I think,
tickets.
Like, the way that it is better. I guess it's like, it's probably less exciting though for those that want those kind of cosmetics, but it's definitely way better overall, like you were saying. Like, it's better overall for everybody because people can use that for any cosmetic that they want, or at least what's available in the player market in the current SG scratch.
Anything else to go along with this?
So I don't know if I fully agree with the.
I don't agree.
I don't know who is complaining about drops anymore. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't think there's really like much of a complaint for drops besides just variety of drops.
Variety of drops, and also, you can't even get, like this. Well, you're starting to get star 12 weapons and other shit, but you're not getting,
Welcome!
what it's. You're not getting legendary weapon. It's very rare, and it's not going according to how much does this amount of player is using or playing the game. It's rewarding for players that play more active or doesn't have a life and they're in the game 24/7, or people that just
See you later.
stands here doing nothing. It's more optimized in their favor. And people that has, like, most of the time, not all the players, but premium. Not all whales, but most of the whales, because money talks.
Like, I want there to be multiple rare things to go for instead of one
I
rare
agree.
thing. I want there to be variety in terms of builds instead of just one set of augments for everybody.
Yes.
That's what I want more. So that's kind of like more like a system or mechanics thing, and not really like a necessarily like a rewards
Thanks
thing.
for stopping by.
Yeah.
It's like build variety. That's
Yeah. We need more build variety of what weapons we're choosing, what class are we using, and from what class what we're using, what weapons are we using. We should have accountability and what we want to proceed on how we use those type of weapons. Do you want to be tanky? Do you want to be uh, close combat? Do you want to do DPS? Do you want to become a healer? Do you want to be a supporter? You know, there's different varieties of how you view yourself as a player and what class you're going to be using, what weapon you are choosing, what gear that's going to implement your playing style, how you're going to proceed throughout the game and throughout the outcome. So if you're going to go to like dungeons or urgent quests, limited time quests, so on and so forth, there will be different activities you will be able to achieve, and there will be different activities you won't be able to achieve because of a certain equipment that you have, and you might need to optimize or maximize the way how you use your equipment. However, there are certain advantage and disadvantage that it should, depending what class that you're using, what weapon are you using it for your playing style. So it will be give and take, and also it would be, you know, you have to count on the players that you're playing with, the community. So if you're gonna play with 4 people, 8 people, 12 people, 32 players, you have to know uh, what role that you're gonna play, what role they're gonna be playing, and how you're gonna be equipped for their battle style. So if you're gonna go solo, you have to be equipped that you can achieve playing solo play. You have to be equipped to play in a group or in a party. So you could complement the other player with your equipment, and they could complement yours. But that's not how it is in NGS and base PSO2. And base PS2 has that same mentality. You need DPS. You need to have higher potency or floor potency. But it's not, you know, adapting to what you're gonna use or, you know, what role you choosing. They moved that aside and only picked one.
more what I want.
Because literally everything worth doing gives you so many of these drops that augments, like literally our best in slot augments, aren't worth anything anymore. They completely remove the need to touch any of the old dual quests. You don't have to use any of them by giving you all the drops in the current tier stuff. They have heavily optimized and heavily inflated the drop pool to make it substantially better.
Come by anytime, okay?
For everything. Because a very common thing that I heard over and over again where the drops suck, we don't get good enough rewards. And in the current state of the game,
but at the same time, like, were we wrong? We weren't wrong that it was bad. So I don't know if you can really pin that on us, the players.
No.
Because they were fucking bad.
They
were god awful. I literally like would do like a UQ and get nothing of value.
Yeah.
Literally nothing. A thing that shows up every few hours once, and get nothing for it.
I agree. And hold that thought before he Critical goes any even further. I think Chrono, it's since he keep on mentioning a lot of best in slot, and then Spike Sue had mentioned of best in slot, and someone of KFC that is, that fake uh, content creator that works for, supposedly working for Sega. And then what I've researched and went to, um, I went to digging. So I used a different uh, device. I used a different name, different fake everything. So, but doing spy work for the community. So I went into Best in Slot. I went to um, KFC because he mentioned a lot, but I don't think Chrono's the one. But he is favored of their idealism of Best in Slot. So pretty much Best in Slot is um
See you later.
where is it? AC, support items selective. So if I go here, best in slot is pretty much you're paying to win. You're paying to win to get these type of materials and items for you could get, a head start, or, you know, be the same equipped as free to play players. Because free to play players has to earn their shit to get to the top. It used to be that way. But now, uh, money talks. Now, whales have more power than an average player that plays whatever amount that he can or she can, and earning their shit as they go along to play the game. So, what people that, is paying to win, they have access to the player shop. So in the player shop, what it does, people scalp, scam other naive players or players that don't know. And they have their own separate thing on if they do um, stream or if they do YouTube. There are going to be small majority of the group that they will have link to um, do shady business. By shady business, meaning to rip people off, and for they could stay wealthy and have more in-game currency. With in-game currency, you have power to control the monopoly of a market system in games. So, hear what I just said. In games, not just saying NGS or base PSO2. That's whatever game. If you have that certain knowledge, you pretty much are a hacker or a glitcher, cheeser, or cheater. So with that in mind, if you, like I've said before, I'm a glitcher. I'm a cheeser, cheater in Pokemon. That is it. But I also stated people that has the same mentality as me, they're either in the same community process of a hacker or a glitcher, cheeser, and a cheater. All those four elements, four type of people, has that same mentality. Just an FYI, just to let you guys know. So Krono is pretty much like me. Just that he's doing with other community that thinks like him. He's thinking of, I'm believing he's thinking of a number game. And probably people that he's involved with, especially that if they're keep thinking of best in slot type of thing mentality, is by how to manipulate the market for they could have favor of, if I go here, it pretty much shows you right here when you go to top sellers to increase the market prices. Once you increase the market prices, you're only getting wealthier, and certain players are be able to get in certain items. So they're uh, not including the peoples that are not able to get those certain items. So pretty much separating, kind of like politics. You have the Democrats and Republicans, and then there's certain area of like United Kingdom and European. They will have like a middle ground. So beside Democrats and Republicans, you will have that middleman. But in this case, like Sega, NGS, PSO2 is separating. So diversity, that you have two different parties. See how I use diversity? Two different type of parties that's separating between the haves and have-nots. So
See you later.
going back to the player shop, you have AC SG. Sega is not implementing SG into AC. Genshin Impact and Star Rail, whatever gacha game, they implement their, in-game currency of pay to win, but also you can use in-game currency in that same scratch ticket. But in this case, Sega is not implementing uh, SG and AC on one. They're separating. So what does that tell you? You're gonna have two different type of parties, two people, the two different idealism of community. So the community with have-nots and have. So free to play players will have a certain different type of mentality, and the people that spending money in the game, or if you have, income coming in, they have also different type of mentality as well. So think about that. And that's what Krono has been saying a lot. That's why I am guessing I agree a lot with Critical. But there are, like he said, there's times he's gonna have his own opinion. Like, we're all human. We're gonna have our different agreements, and we're gonna agree every now and then, and we're gonna, bump heads every now and then. So, like Krono, I'm most of the time gonna be bumping heads with his opinions because, certain things he's seen it in a different perspective, because he probably is not the type of person that put in work to get where he's at. He paid, or as you can see, Sega's sponsoring him, so he's sponsoring Sega to do content. But I'm not, bashing people making content or working with Sega, right? But as what we all known for content creators for Sega, they have certain advantages, but they haven't gone to, they have favoritism in the website, official website, and so on and so forth. But not putting content creators in a certain perspective, right? But it's putting perspective of Sega, making them look bad of their choices of they make, and how they are separating between a lot of consumers, and also separating from players and content creators. Not putting heat on content creators, because it's not their problem. It's not you know they're not obligated, or they're not, you know Sega's putting heat on those type of people, so they could wash their hands, get that blood off of their hands. They're giving it to someone else, a scapegoat to do X, Y, and Z.
So it was definitely bad. It was bad. I should get at least a little something.
Close. I honestly shudder to think of.
Even with four-man things, like the only thing that was of value in those kind of quests was the rare drop that literally only 1% of the player base got, if that.
This is the best.
So that's why everybody was complaining, because it was just for those that got lucky.
Pretty much.
So I like the new Legendios weapon. I haven't even looked at it too much. I mean, I don't know, just another rare weapon that I can't get.
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, I don't care. I'm not really like a guy that goes super crazy for the rare drops like that, especially since there's only one to go for.
If it's like Borderlands type of thing.
I've been playing PSO lately, like the original Phantasy Star Online, and there isn't just one rare drop to go for. There's a bajillion rare drops to go for that are good for a whole bunch of different kinds of builds in the game. And it's like, there's rare armor, there's rare augments or units, there's rare weapons and different kinds of weapons, and they're used for different scenarios because they have different kinds of buffs.
Right. That's what I'm campaigning for.
Have that. This game doesn't have that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And also you don't level up to max instantly. It actually takes some time. Actually feel value.
Exactly.
Leveling up. Yeah, there's no middle ground. Yeah, it's either just trash or things are super rare. That's been a big problem.
Yo.
You are currently playing the game with no upgrades.
That I've been saying since almost day one. You can go back in some of my videos where I'd rant about some of this stuff.
Agree.
And I definitely have said that before, where there's no middle ground for loot. There's no anything. But that has now since changed, at least in terms of augments. However, I didn't want all of the augments to drop in a singular quest. That is not what I was asking for.
Exactly.
It's just one type, and I want to get some progress when I do something, but maybe sometimes I can get lucky and get
the
a
goal.
End point,
yep.
Which is kind of what some of the quests do now, but a lot of it is limited stuff. It's not the best scenario. Because you can get the Magis Gladius Soul, for instance, to drop, which is one of the better things, right? One of the best augments. But then you can also just get Gladius Soul to drop. So that's kind of a middle ground loot there. So you have the Legendios weapon, you have these two kind of augments, tier 2, tier 1, and then you have all the other materials which just happen every time.
Yep.
So they kind of have added a middle ground. There's just no middle ground in terms of I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say that. It's just the middle ground is weird when it comes to weapons and armor because of how this game works.
Yeah,
because
nothing's
each
usable.
weapon and armor piece requires so much investment. You do not want to use a middle ground piece. You don't want to just use the middle of the road fucking piece, because you have to go through so much effort to upgrade everything. It's not.
That is another big issue, because you have to go um, drastically upgrade. Upgrade is hard because depending how much you play and how much in-game currency you have, it's it's investment. And even though like Karopi, Krono is and other gamers aside from them says that, oh, it's easy. They even show you from the start of the game and whatever they are in, they are easily um, able to go from A to B, and they're not doing the struggle. They're skipping the struggle. They're just showing players that, yeah, it's easy. Of course, this game is completely easy, understandable, but there are going to be a certain checkpoint that you're going to be like, oh shit. And you're like, I need to get a certain weapon. I need an upgrade or overhaul my gear. But you have access to the player shop. That is the big problem. You should be able to have access once you I would say each and every individual player should have access to the shop till they reach Stia. Once they finish Stia, you should be able to have access of the player market. So you could have time to struggle from here to Alio to Rotemp to Kavaris to Stia. It will be a little bit of struggle if you haven't played the game. If you have played the game, you have still access. It doesn't cut you down or cut you off on certain access points because you already know what you're doing. And other content creators making from like, I could do this from beginning to the end, they have access. They know what they're doing. They know how to manipulate the player market or how to use the market or ask a friend, hey, give me a certain amount of currency. What if you don't have no friends, no access points, anything? You're starting from scratch, knowing nothing or how you play the market or play the game. And you have to think about like any other player without, using the guide of, let's say, if you go to system and help and game guide, players won't know to go to this axis and see what you need or what you're missing to get further throughout the game. Since you know that knowledge, you should wipe it off your memory and not get help menu going to game guide. You need to go from scratch. But even though you're gonna find ways because you already know how to grind, that's also another step that you're not being like any other player, if you could understand me. If the person that played from the get-go didn't use that um, you know helpful tip of using the game guide or using a lot of players is not reading, they're just playing, going with their gut feeling. And, you know, they doing it slow as the like I explained, would you rather be a tortoise or a hare? A tortoise, you have more long term of experiencing the game and getting zoned into the environment of the story. If you're into stories, if you're not into the stories, it's gonna be like certain players say, it's like homework, or it's like, something that, like a job, something that you don't want to do. But hey, you're playing the game for a reason, so might as well like the story too. But if you don't like the story, then why you're, like certain content creators, certain gamers, and in the community has say why you're playing this game. That's the only time that I will say that. But out of that, I will not tell anybody why you're playing this game. Only if I'm, trying to make a point and get through to your thick skull. Because there are certain players or content creators has thick skull that don't understand the concept of a struggle or how players are using, you know, oops, the players are using free gear is because it's so easy enough that you don't need best in slot, quote quote, free to play. I mean, not free to play, excuse me, pay to win. You
Welcome.
don't need pay to win gear. You don't need 12-star weapon. You don't need legendary weapon because they don't mean shit. They're not the best. Let me make that clear. 12-star legendary, not the best weapon. From the current state of the game, yeah, sure, of course. The only thing that is so-called best weapon is because, like Critical Caster said, and other content creators have said, your HP goes up, damage wise, maybe, and PP. That's about it. You're looking for um, potency. That's pretty much what it is. Potency or floor potency. And then whatever crap that you add into it in your augments, you're shoving augments in your weapon. That's how powerful it's going to be. It's not based on what type of gear you're creating. It's based on
See you later.
how hard that you could hit and how many times you could use your action skill. That's pretty much what it's based on. That's why a lot of people button smash, because you're not using skill tactics or your intuition how to play certain things in the game. It's pretty much brain rot. You're just button smashing.
It's not as easy as just slapping it on and then replacing it like other games. You have to put enhancement on it to plus 90, which is going to be plus 100 soon, and then you have to add 7 augments, which is going to be 8 augments soon on top of that gear, and then you have the fix for it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then for like the Ectasis armor, you have to upgrade it to the higher version, the acro stasis or whatever the fuck. So there's so many layers to the gear. You pretty much don't want to use any middle of the road thing. At least you don't want to heavily invest into it. That's why a lot of people use the freebie gear that's handed out.
Exactly.
And they only use that until they finally get like the best thing currently.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when they do get that best thing that's rare, they would rather sell it for Meseta than actually use it.
You mean this shit?
Because it's just worth so much Meseta because it's so rare. They would rather just do that to get cosmetics now. then use it themselves, put so much investment into it for it to be replaced later, and then not be able to sell it for anything. That's exactly why they handed freebie gear. It's because people don't want to upgrade middle of the road things.
Exactly.
They'd rather just stick with what they have until they get the best thing and then maybe use it, or they'd rather just sell it.
Exactly. I rather have what I have right now, the freebie gear, than waste my materials to get this piece of shit that you can't sell. So I just made it just for shits and giggles because I didn't have nothing else to do and I was kind of bored. And pretty much the same thing with the armor. I made the armor. Am I using it? No. Can you see? I'm using this one. I don't give a shit about this. Because, yeah, it's level 60, but it's not giving me, why. It's the why factor here. And also, why would I waste my time going to chapter 7? No point. Like I said, it should be based on, the story mission should be based on your level, not battle power. For every person can enjoy the game and play the game. Level of battle power will only factor on a certain uh, boss or certain um, raid or dungeons, which we don't have. We just have sector zones and limited time quests and urgent quests. And I still, like I said, limited time, urgent quests, and whatever crap that we have here so far should be count as level requirement, not battle power. So like that, regardless what battle power you have, you're still able to have a good time to play the game and play different parts of the game. So it won't feel kind of obsolete, but still, again, they made everything else obsolete.